Hi, I'm Robin Jay, President and founder of the Las Vegas Convention Speakers Bureau, producer of the award-winning Key Movies. I'm also a fiction and nonfiction author with a deep curiosity about life and people, and I'm also very attracted to the healing arts, energy healing. In fact, my novel kind of touches on that. So when I first heard from Goddess, I was intrigued. Today, it's my privilege to interview this incredible woman who goes by the name of Goddess. She was born in the Bahamas and raised in Brooklyn, New York. So there's a bunch of culture shock for you there. Big difference. Goddess got tremendous experience in life events as a court reporter, hearing about all the details that most of us watch a movie of the week to see. And then she was working at the Brooklyn Family Court for more than 15 years. But at one point, as many of us do, she knew it was time for a change. So she earned her associate's degree in massage therapy and shiatsu from the Swedish Institute in New York. Big change. You can tell she was evolving as a human being, going from court reporter to massage therapist, but she didn't stop there. She was soon on a mission to help and heal others, as was evident when she gave a recent TED Talk, which is something that most motivational speakers strive to attain, to get to where they can do a TED Talk for a nice audience. Goddess soon realized that she had the ability to heal people, something that most of us can barely even comprehend. I've studied energy healing, so I know a little bit more than the average person about it. So I have some great questions for her. Goddess's healing powers became evident during the COVID pandemic as her hands seemed to go through their own evolution. And we will talk about that too. This interview might be a bit much for some of you to handle, but for those of you who are finding yourselves on a deeply spiritual journey, I know this is going to blow your mind. So join me in welcoming the woman who only needs one name, Goddess. Welcome to the interview.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Thank you so much for that introduction. Beautiful. Thank you. And it is my pleasure to be interviewed by Robin. She's an amazing person. She's always been there to pick me up and keep it going. She's a great motivator, and I really appreciate having her in my life.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it too. And I know that our paths crossed for a reason, which is why we've stayed in touch all this time. And I'm really excited to finally have this opportunity to peel back some of those layers and explore who you are and the journey you're on. So let me start with the first most obvious question, which is, when did you become aware that you could heal people?
I became aware that I could heal people when I started to heal people. Okay. And when I say that, and when I say that, what I mean was when I would get feedback from them, like, what did you do to my hand? Or, or it's gone.
Was it
So
in the course of a normal shiatsu massage or a regular massage, or were you doing actually a healing energy session with them?
well, with massage, I didn't even think I had anything back then. I wasn't even aware of the healing factor back then. I left the court system because I didn't like the system and I didn't like how it treated the people, and I didn't want to be a part of that. And I didn't care how much they paid me to stay. I just didn't resonate with my being. So I left. But then I wanted to give back. So I says, how do I give back to the people? And then it hit me. I was like, you know what? I can do massage. My mom was a great healer within her own right as a nurse, and she loved her patients. I find her to be the last of the Mohegans because she'd come home and talk about her experience with her patients. So she was amazing healing. And me being in her presence, if I wasn't feeling well, just in her presence, I felt so much better. So,
And was she a doctor or a nurse or an energy
she was a
healer?
nurse. She was a nurse. She wasn't.
Okay.
She had energy, I'm sure, but she gave it. She really
She
devoted
was
her
more
time.
traditionally trained as a nurse.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And how do you know when you heal someone, how do you know that this works, that this is effective?
Well, I usually ask them if they feel my energy because just recently I was the first person I ever massaged was in my presence. Most people have been distant, and that's how I was able to, know that something happened because they would contact me and say it's gone. And at first I wasn't believing them. I'm like, what's going on? Seriously? I would check the following night. They'll be like, nothing. I'm fine.
But what kind of symptoms? What were
Usually
their,
you mean what did they have?
what did they come to you for? Just a massage to relax, and then something that had been bothering them suddenly went away? Or how did you know you were healing them? How did they know you were healing them?
Which happened during COVID or while COVID. It didn't happen when I was massaging. Not that I'm aware of. However, when my hands started going through the heat and the cold and the nails coming off and that shift, I was like, what's going on with my hands? And when I would take my hands, I would feel this very strong energy. And the wider I went and the wider I went, I could still feel it. So I had a phone call that from a friend in Virginia, and she had gone to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist gave her this cream, and she got allergic to it, and it really, made her feel very uncomfortable. She didn't go to work for the whole week, and she's telling me her story. And as a friend, I'm still in bed. It was early in the morning, and you comfort your friend. Oh, you're gonna go to the doctor? She says, yes, my husband's gonna take me. And so I said, okay. And then my spirit guides told me, help her. And I said, help her with what? And then they showed me my hands. So then I told her, she was living in Virginia, and I says, you know what? Let me see what I can do. I said, I never really used it, but I think I can heal people. I think I can maybe help you. She says, look, I'm so open right now. I'm so uncomfortable. I will, do it. I told her to put her hand out, and let me know when she feels me, meaning my energy. And she goes,
And this was over the phone. This wasn't in person.
Not in person. She lived in Virginia. I was in New York at the time. And so I began to, let her know when she felt me. And she said, oh, I do. I feel you. So I said, I'm going to start working my way up your arm. And as I began to work my way and send my energy up her arm, she was going, oh, yeah.
She could feel what you were doing.
Totally. And then she was like, oh, it's the burning sensation's gone. She goes, oh, I could turn my neck. And I kept doing what I was doing. And then it was time to pull back my energy. And I did. And she says, I'm not going to the doctor. I'm going to work. I missed work all week. I'm going to work. And I was like, get out of here. She goes,
just minutes after you had worked on her at the same time. That's pretty impressive.
Yes. And so she went, she went to work. Her husband took. So I said, let me see what happens tonight when she gets home. I called her. I go, did it come back? She said, never came back. I'm like, really?
How wonderful. How fantastic. Well, speaking of your hands, tell me a little bit about what your hands went through, because I know you feel energy in your hands. And I'll tell people, like if you put your hands together and you pull them apart like this, it almost hit my microphone. It almost feels like a slinky, but it's only energy. It's very subtle.
Yes.
It's not like holding on to something like my microphone or whatever, it's not like that.
Right.
It's feeling that energy, almost like taffy pulling back and forth. You can feel that pull. So you have something like that in your hands, and then you lost your nails. They replaced themselves and grew out differently. Tell me about that.
Yes. Well, I noticed one morning when I woke up and I looked at my fingernails, I'm like, what the heck is this? And it was all 10 of my fingernails where it broke off in the middle, and you could see new growth coming up right underneath. And I was like, oh, but it was so painful, because what started to happen was it would get caught on the bedspread. It would get caught on the towel. So, going through that whole, it was challenging. I just couldn't wait till the whole nail bed grew up, and I was able to use my hands, like washing dishes. I had to put gloves on, and really make sure that it didn't come into contact with anything as it was going through this shift. And then from there, like feeling energy is really, easy for me. And not only like with my hands, like with my body, I can, assess a person, and feel where they're at. And know, because, it's from me and source. I call it source energy because it's source, directing me. I use my energy in that way. And so I don't just hold it, or put it on top of someone. I would use certain hand gestures and hand movements to move the energy, and however it's guided for me to do.
It's interesting, when I studied with Dr. Eric Pearl, and he was having side effects on his hands when he started doing energy healing. You
Really?
should read his book, Reconnection, The Reconnection. And he was getting like blisters and painful hands as he was working on people. And then grounding himself helped him to alleviate that. So it's really important. You want the energy to move through you and not get stuck on you. And so that's where grounding comes in handy for energy healing too. Well, let me ask you this, through your evolution as a healer and the changes that you went through your hands, were there more spiritual side effects as well, along with the physical?
Yes, I would definitely say that I had more spiritual connections, more impact with my guides, being able to say, help her, pushing me, even to do this interview with you has been a push to say it's time now for this to come out into the world. It's time now to do your purpose in the world. And so I'm honored that you called me for my birthday and sang to me for my birthday. And you were a gift for me for my birthday. And so here we are,
I sang.
this. You sure did. And you were good, honey. I loved it. I loved it. Yes.
I'm glad. So it's spiritual and physical, the combination of the two, helping people. You do, as you were saying, you helped your friend over the phone. So you do distance healing.
I do.
Someone doesn't have to be there, because that's what I learned too with the reconnection is you explain the process, because I know you get inside your head, you ground yourself, and then in your mind, you imagine whether it's like caressing their figure or their area where they're having situations, pain or issues, that you can work with them that way. How does proximity healing work, if you can explain that?
Well, for me, how it works for me is I always tell them to bend their elbows so that if their hands out so that they can feel me, because then they get to experience energy. And usually they may feel tingling, they may feel a breeze. There's been times when I would blow on air on my hand and they would feel it. They're like, oh, I feel like a wind. So it's like, wow, this is like so cool.
So you have that connection on another level than just the physical plane. It's fantastic.
And then from there, I would begin to send the energy. And once these frequencies and this energy gets into the person's body, then that's it for me. It goes to work.
So you're basically channeling a higher power of source and directing it into the people that you're working with for energy healing. Yes. That's fantastic. And are there a few healings that you've done that stuck with you more? They had a greater impact of what you were able to accomplish?
Yeah, I had gotten a phone call about a newborn baby, and the baby was home for maybe like about a month or so. And then she was telling me that all of a sudden this rash, the baby's covered in this rash from head to toe. So I said, send me a video. Let me see, because I want to see if the baby's in distress. You need to get the baby to a hospital, not to me. So I looked at the baby. The baby was very comfortable with her rash. So I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to hang up and I'll do a healing, when I hang up with you. So I did the healing and I went to bed, and then I got a text in the morning that the rash was completely gone. No more rash. So I was like, oh, thank God. And so that was like one of my, like, oh, the little ones. And then the next healing that I did was my friend that lives in Florida, but we haven't seen each other since we were in high school. And so she lives in Florida, and she drove down to West Palm, and we connected. We had dinner. And as we're having dinner, I see her constantly rubbing her ear, and then I look again and she's rubbing. And I'm like, what's going on? And she said, ever since she had COVID, that she has had an ear issue because her eardrum ended up bursting. And so she's always in pain with this ear. Sometimes it's more so than others. And so I said, okay. I said, I said, let's see if, if I do a healing on it, if it'll go away or just calm down some. So she says, oh, I'm open. So we got back to her hotel room. She sat on the edge of the bed. And I began to, now let me know that this is the first person I've had in front of me. So now I really get to see what's going on. So as I begin to move my hand on the side of her face, and I noticed that her eyes started twitching and then her cheeks started jumping, right? So I'm like, wow. And I did it again and it did it again. I was like, wow, that's cool. So then, once I was done, I pulled back and I said, okay, I'm done. She goes, now my face is swollen. I said, what? She goes, my face is swollen. I said, no, it's not. Go look. She looked in the mirror and she goes, oh. I said, okay. I said, let's see what happens. Give me a call in a couple of days. Well, she did call me in a couple of days and her pain was gone to this day. She's a true skeptic, which I'm really glad that she's that skeptical because, to this, she wrote a great review for me. And then she said 3 weeks later, still nothing. So,
That's fantastic. And we should probably say that this is not something to do instead of going to your doctor. If you
absolutely, the disclaimer is I'm not a doctor. I'm not, a medical person. This is a gift that I have, and I'm even planning on working with a doctor, a surgeon in New York, with his patients, energy healing, so that he's open. And it's a good thing that he's open-minded to, new ways of healing, new ways of adapting for his patients.
One of the nicest things is you're not really doing anything that's going to hurt anyone.
Exactly.
Worst case scenario, I hate to say worst case scenario, but worst case scenario is you're not going to hurt them. They are relaxed. They're going to feel good and come away from that feeling much better and knowing that maybe they got healed, maybe they got helped a little bit. I've worked on people. It's crazy because they are just conditioned to know that they have to go to a doctor. And so, we have so many options now, and this is a new option. And I think after what everyone's been through the last few years, a lot of people are a lot more open-minded about trying new modalities for healing, along with, eating right and exercising and having walks and going out in the sunshine and get your vitamin D. Everything else helps you to feel healthier and to feel better. So I like that. And I really appreciate that you shared that there were some actual specific case examples where you've definitely helped someone and they stayed better off having worked with you. So I think that's a great claim to fame, as it were, great statement. And where are you going to take it from here? How does someone get a hold of you if they're interested in having a session, whether it's remote or whether it's in person? You want to give a little contact information?
Sure, absolutely. You can email me at goddessttw@gmail.com and we can set something up, definitely.
And TTW?
TTW means touch the world, and that's
touch the world. So Goddess TTW, like T as in Tom, touch the world. Goddess TTW at Gmail. Okay, fabulous. Or they can just email you and set up an appointment. Is it expensive to have energy healing? Is it one and done, one session, or does someone need to look at a series of having a healing session with you every week for a month or 6 months or whatever? How does that work?
I usually do about 3 sessions if needed. If the person has, no more symptoms in that one session, that's fine. Absolutely. So it depends on the individual and what's going on.
Okay. And it's affordable for everybody who wants to try this.
Sure, it is affordable for everybody compared to the prices your insurance charges these days.
According to a copay, right?
Whoa.
All right. And I'm excited. I think as an energy healer myself, I think this is something that the world is really going to be ready for. It's a vibrational world. Healing frequencies are out there. We have a lot of other frequencies that we need to combat with the
Yes.
good energy. And I'm
Yes.
excited that you're doing this and you're finally taking it mainstream. So I wish you the very best. And I hope if there's any groups out there that are interested in bringing Goddess in to speak, to talk about her experience. She's very inspirational, very motivational. You could check out her TED Talk. Do you have a website?
I do. It's goddessttw.com.
goddessttw.com. Go check it out. Thanks.